Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
Welcome, everybody, to the Craft Beer News segment. It is September 1st, 2023. As a reminder, we will not be in studio next week as I will be at the UP Beer Festival. If you are up in Marquette, come say hi to me. That's where I will be. Excited to go try some Upper Peninsula breweries and, of course, see the fall in the UP. Let's go around and see what everybody is drinking, starting with Wendy. Wendy, what do you got?
I started out with an unapologetic fruit from Brewery of Avant. It's their sangria. It's a blend of their fruited farmhouse ale and a sour ale. It really is delicious. It's a little bit lighter than I expected it to be, but tasty.
I am still drinking my milkshake stout from segment 1. I did finish the Alaskan Amber. And we do have Gary coming back from the interview segment earlier with Harold. Go check out episode 326. Gary, what are you drinking?
I got some Noble Savage Internal Dialogue, and as my backup, I got Perennial Owen, just in case.
All right, and we do have one more guest host coming on in. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and of course, what you're drinking.
Sure. Thanks for having me on, y'all. My name is Brendan. A little about me. Currently based out of the Twin Cities. Before that, I lived in Nashville for 4 years and was born and raised in Michigan before that. I have never met a pumpkin beer I didn't like. If you're wondering who's buying pumpkin beers in July, it's this guy. I am a firm believer in stouts in summer and think everyone should drink them. And currently, I'm going through a really big Pilsner and Amber Ale phase. So, and as for what I'm drinking, I have a Bloom Blueberry Lavender Cider from Farmhouse Cider Company in Hudsonville. And then funny enough, Ken, I also found a milkshake stout and have dug that out for this as well.
It is definitely going to be one of the last ones you can have as the brewery is now closed. And the only place you could get it, of course, is the Brew Pub, as it was one of the few brewery recipes that they shared. With always the craft beer news, each of us brings in an article to talk about. And why don't we start with Wendy? Wendy, what do you want to chat about today?
Well, I found this article. I don't even know how to say it. I was today years old when I learned that there was a fresh hop beer season. So apparently in the West Coast beer scene, specifically the Portland area of Oregon, there is a lot of buzz about fresh hop beers that are traditionally only found at festivals and in the tap rooms during the fresh hop season. Because they're meant to be drank fresh to highlight the unkilled whole hop cones. So I had no idea that that even existed. I had to do tons of research because of this one article. But thanks to the pandemic, a lot of the breweries have pivoted to canning it because it was supposed to be a temporary fix. But with taproom sales still lagging and in a decline in the Oregon, I'm sorry, I can't even talk right today. With taproom sales so lagging and a decline in the Oregon hop harvest, more of the breweries are turning to canning the product rather than relying solely on taproom sales. So did you guys even know about this fresh hop season?
So I'm a little familiar with it only because I have a cousin who used to live in Seattle, and he's a big craft beer drinker, and they have like a fresh hop beer festival. So I think it's in Seattle, somewhere in Washington State, but I just remember like one fall we were talking about it right after he moved to Tennessee, and he was flabbergasted that it wasn't a thing. And I've wanted to try one ever since and have never had the opportunity. But yeah, that's the only reason I know about it.
So apparently Oregon has like 400 breweries that generate more than $8.7 billion in economic output. That's a lot of money. 2.8 billion in wages and 50,000 jobs in the state, which 1,300 of them are agricultural jobs. But the U.S. Brewers Association says that nationwide beer sales are still nearly 30% down from the pandemic. And with nearly 2 million fewer barrels ever being sold, that's disproportionately impacting the craft brewers that rely heavily on draft sales. So I guess my question is, have you ever had a fresh hopped beer? I'm assuming that my IPA challenged friends here are that's gonna be a big no. But I'm interested to hear your opinion of the whole fresh hop thing, and if you think it will ever make it to Michigan. Ken, we
Um,
can't.
There we go. The first thing I would say is go support your local hop producers by liking them on Facebook, following them on social media. And the reason for that is that you would notice if you follow them that the hop harvest is coming in, everyone's bringing in their hops, and you will be able to see all of that, which is why we're in what they call fresh hop season. These hops are literally right off of the vine, and there was, in fact, a beer from what's the airplane brew, Flightco, where they actually flew a plane to a hop farm to pick up the hops for their fresh hop, fly it back to their brewery, and brew with that fresh hop as like the freshest hop you can get. So I did know there was a season, and I do understand like this is probably the only time it can be a season, because as Brendan was talking about in the earlier the show, like stouts can be a year-round thing and pumpkin beer all day, because you can get pumpkin flavoring. It's all nutmeg, allspice. Not many people are actually using pumpkins. What about you though, Gary? What's it like? Because I know I don't think there's any hop growers down there in Georgia. Do you guys have like a fresh hop season with some of your more IPA forward breweries?
no, we don't. But I do know at the fresh hop season, because I was stationed out for a work project out in Tacoma, Seattle. So yeah, I know about it. I missed it, so to come back. But I know New York State, they do a couple things up there also. They grow hops up there. That's my second home, well, my first home. So yeah, the fresh hop, it gets a little crazy. Actually, a friend of mine actually grows his own hops and is brewing his own beer. So I'm looking forward to trying it when I go back home in a couple weeks.
Your friend is a saint. I tried to grow 2 different styles of hops here in Michigan, and they are such an invasive species. No matter how hard you try, I would never do it. But Wendy, I mean, this is your article. You're an IPA gal? Well, you're an all beer gal.
So I am still a little hop timid, though. I'm not a huge fan of the West Coast. So I'm the West Coast style, not the West Coast in general. But I'm very interested to see what the difference would be in a fresh hop as opposed to the other beer that I got there. Because even when I was in Seattle, the West Coast IPAs taste way different than when you get them here. So I'd definitely be interested in trying it out. I'm actually going to create a post tomorrow morning for with links to the different festivals for the fresh hop season out there. If anybody's in the area, they can go check them out and, send back info and let me know how it is.
Maybe that's what we need here in Michigan as a fresh hop festival with all the
Right?
breweries. Kind of like how we used to have the Cask Ale Festival over at Ashley's. We could pull off a fresh hop festival for sure. I do want to kind of continue after your article because you were talking about beer sales and beer sales going down. So as everybody may be aware, if not already, craft beer sales have been in decline for the past year over year. So this is also after 2022 with a couple years of COVID inside. Keg sales are down, but on-premise sales are trending up. So that means that going to a bar, that's a keg sale versus going to a brewery that's still on-prem. That's not necessarily a keg sale. But openings are still continuing to outpace closings. So breweries are opening, breweries are closing, but at a slower pace. And people are going to more breweries than they are drinking craft beer at craft beer bars or regular bars. So I'll start off with the first simple question is, let's go back to 2009. Are you at this time, now that everyone's kind of back to normal, are you going to craft beer bars as much as you used to? Your Hopcats here in Michigan, World of Beer, out by, I think Gary, you got a World of Beer out by you. I actually, the only one I went to was in Atlanta, so I just know it exists in Georgia at least. Are you going to craft beer head or beer head brewery or something like that? Have you been going to these bars, or is it just brewery only for you now? And I will start with Gary because I already called him once.
Okay. Actually, I have 2 World of Beers within 10 minutes of me.
That's too much beer.
Fridge. Yeah, first World of Beer actually opened in Savannah. Here's a kick. In Savannah, we have a crazy beer rule. You have to have 51% of your sales from food to be open on Sunday, so they had no kitchen. That was crazy. But yeah, I go to bars.
They were selling that much beer versus food.
No, that's the rule to be open in Chatham County, in where we live at.
You're sorry. You were saying that World of Beer, more than half of their sales was beer only, so they couldn't open on Sundays.
Yeah, that's
wow.
That's the rule. That's a crazy beer rule. Well, welcome to Georgia.
I don't remember the last time I went to a craft beer bar. Wendy, you're muted. A craft beer bar that I didn't rack up a bigger food bill than the beer bill.
Yeah, that's half the fun of going to a craft beer bar is chowing down on some appetizers.
But yeah, we got some great bars here in Savannah. But yeah, I hit my locals. I get a ton of stuff. I bring it back home. I just kick back and chill. Or it's like we got Starling Yard, which is a food truck pavilion. So they have a tiki bar in there. So you can get a PBR, you can get some creature comforts, or you can also get some cool bourbons, kick back and chill and relax, eat some food and run around. Because the other cool thing about Savannah, it's a Go Cups are legal. I can walk out to drink legally, no brown paper bag in it.
It's legal in Detroit too. Nobody cares.
It's not legal. It's
not
upon.
legal, but nobody cares. If you're going to like the Lions game, like we would park at MGM and walk to the Lions, walk to Ford Field, and as long as you're not acting up, I walked by so many cops, and they're busy with traffic. They're busy with making sure people know where to go and not getting hit by cars. If you're just walking and paying attention and not like, causing a ruckus, they don't care. Being an ass. Brendan, when was the last time you went to do you go to beer bars still?
I gotta find a new one. Like I said, I just moved to Minnesota like a month ago yesterday, so I haven't found a good one yet. I used to go. When I lived in Nashville, I lived above a beer bar, so I probably skewed the average a little bit because I would just walk downstairs, and it was very bad for my wallet and waistline. But I would say, as a whole, with that exception, I feel like I'm definitely more of a brewery than a beer bar person. It's just something about the atmosphere a little more. If I'm going to a bar, anecdotally, I don't usually go for like super crafty stuff. I usually will just go with like a Blue Moon or like whatever the local lager is, just because I feel like with a bar, you're kind of running into, are they taking care of the draft lines? A lot of different stuff like that you won't get at a brewery. So
how long have you had that beer on tap?
Yeah, how long's the keg been there? Are they keeping the stuff clean? How are they pouring it well? So I would definitely trend more towards going to breweries than beer bars, but there are exceptions. Like I don't know if it counts as a beer bar, but I love the Brown Iron Brew House, both their locations. They do good stuff there.
You were talking about how often the beer lines or how old the keg is. There's still a keg of Alaskan Amber at the bowling alley I go to, and I'm fairly certain I'm the only one that drank that beer. So like after a while, I just kind of had to stop drinking it. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to keep drinking it. Plus,
how are they ever going to replace it if you stop drinking it?
Yeah, I was going to say that keg will be there.
You know what?
Damn it, Ken.
It's not my problem. I went with the Miller Lite and just, a pitcher of Miller Lite, lower ABV, lower calorie, and safer for me. I mean, that's just kind of how I had to look at it at that point. Cause, that's, you got to be smart when you're out there. I'm not 20 anymore. The amount of times that I drank way too much to drive, no more of that. So we're counting ABVs like it's on my my fingers. I still use that backtrack. I'm like, I had a few beers. Let's make sure everything's good to go, because how many times, this is a general question to everyone, but how many times have you drank a few beers and didn't really necessarily pay attention to the ABVs, and you like got up and you're like, holy shit.
Should not have done that.
Yeah, no. I mean, that as much as I knew what was up, I only had 2 beers last night, but one was a 14% barrel aged beer from outside, and one was a 13% barrel aged beer from Three Floyds. So like that's gonna do me in pretty fast, as much as I wasn't slamming them like other beers. But yeah, like we have out here the closest craft beer bar, like we have your Hopcats. I love Beerhead, but I also love the food at Beerhead out in Novi, and it is right across the street from Imagine Theater. But even when I go to these craft beer bars anymore, I'm rarely ever looking for something new. I'm not looking for like, oh, what's this? Like, I'm looking for, I go to the styles that I like and I just pick something and I drink it. Like, I'm not, oh, I've never had this beer before, I'm going to have a pint of it, or I'm going to try it. Like at breweries, I the same thing. Oh yeah. You're on Team Flight and I'm on Team No Flight.
Team Flight for life.
Flight or no fun?
No fun.
I want to try all the new stuff, and I find that when I go to craft beer bars now, it's difficult for me to find something that is new to me.
You think you did that to yourself?
I did, because I like to try so many new things. Like when I go to a brewery, I want to try what's new. I want to try something I haven't had before. And there's just quite a few beer bars that I've been to that I'm just disappointed with the fact that I can't find something new out of all those taps. So to me, I'd rather just go to the local brewery that I know is going to have something new on tap.
I guess, and like the people over in Twitch are having a lot of fun with our argument here. I think there's just it's okay to drink something you've had before.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that too. Don't get me wrong. Every now and then you just want what you are comfortable with.
I think it needs to be more than every now and then. I think it's every now and then you should maybe want to try something new, but when you've had so many beers, at some point to me at least, the experience is worn off. I do not get the excitement of going to a bar and like, oh my gosh, here's
old and jaded already.
Oh. Maybe. I mean, it could also be doing 400 probably episodes of the show over. We're almost at 8 years now, 7 years and 11 months. Gary, you're awfully quiet. Are you Team Flight, Team New? What's your thoughts when you go into a brand new beer bar or brewery?
Well, I've drank with Wendy because I met her about 2 months ago, so I know she's Team Flight. I do a different beer fight. I'll just grab a pint. I'll like flip things around. I'll check different things. Like, I know I have my local breweries here in town, and where I go back home or wherever, it's like I'll look at different things, at different styles. I know it depends, because right now it's 90 degrees outside over here for me, so I'm risky, but I will crack on myself when I get home. My barley wines, BIL, yes, but yeah, my fridge right now looks like, oof. I got bottles of stouts. It's got some barley wines in today, ready to crack them open. But I love my sours. I'm just getting ready to go on a beer festival in like 3 weeks. I can't wait. Going back to Greenville, seeing the crew down there. But yeah, I'm drinking the low ABV stuff right now, so with you guys. But once I get off, I'm getting at the big dogs. Roof.
And you bring up a point which, like, I'm going to the UP Beer Festival. Obviously, I went to the Summer Beer Festival both days, spring. And I see those as a different experience because you're visiting these beer festivals to try and for me it's the chance to see all these breweries that I'll never be able to get to. Like if Alpha Brewing's up at the UB Beer Festival, I don't know when I'm going to get to Alpha, Michigan. So that's, you know, the time that I'm going to be able to try something. Whereas if I go to like someone on our YouTube, because of course you can watch us on youtube.com/better on draft, they go to Yard House. You know, you're going to get a lot of the same beers that you see at Yard House, at Buffalo Wild Wings, at Beerhead over at Novi. Like it's going to be nearly the same beers. It's going to be your Pro Pills from Drafting Table, your Founders KBS or Rubeus, Bell's Two Hearted and Oberon. Like you're going to see the same beers. And for me, when I go to the craft beer bars, I'm probably going to drink something that's crafty. But when I go to like a regular bar, like a B-Dubs, I'm probably just going to drink Miller Lite or Guinness. Like I don't know what it is. Guinness still has a soft spot in my heart. I love going to grab it. But as we say that, the whole point of the discussion was to state that I don't go to these bars anymore. I don't go to on-premise places. I just go to breweries for the most part. Like I go to Corner Brewery. I go to Kunin. Like when I was out and about in Troy, like bar hopping, I went to Kunin. Like I that was just the place to go.
Right to the source.
Yeah.
There's something that hits a little differently getting it straight from the source. I don't know what it is. So like the atmosphere of a brewery, it hits a little differently. I think the beer tastes a little better. Could just be in my head, but yeah, I don't know. Just personally, I get what you're saying at with that.
Maybe part of it too is that we are a little bit jaded, and that we know that when you have 400 taps or 100 taps, we know the upkeep that is involved in that and how fast those taps actually go through those.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in some places, like the Yard House is going to probably have policies and procedures because they're a major corporation to make sure that the beers are on par. Like the draft lines are clean, the beer isn't old, and that's the one thing that I worry about with a lot of those big pourhouses is that like old beer, stale beer, trying to turn kegs. But I'm actually trying to see like looking at the what's Hopcat. I don't know which even Hopcat. Oh, I'm at Detroit, and I see Lager of the Lakes from Bell's, Grand Rapids, the cream ale from Black Rock, Cerveza Del Rey, Locals Light Lime, Dirty Blonde, Oberon, Mr. Blue Sky. Like I've had all of these beers. And it comes a point where, as Wendy said, like she says it's hard for her to go to places. But for me, I just can't. I can't go to these places anymore. Like the it's just worn off. Like the spectacle. I mean, Gary, you travel a lot for work and stuff. Like when you're out and about, are you going to breweries or are you going to beer bars?
I do both. Yeah, because I'm living down here in Georgia now, but I grew up in New Jersey. So I get out of work, I can walk over to Grimm. I can walk over to Other Half. So I should jump on a train, go on a walk. I could go to Brooklyn. I had great beer bars, Barcade, all those fun spots, Spite and Dival. I come down here to Georgia, chilling 2 times, Service, Hoptomica. I'm on the West Coast. I was at Otter, Alpha Acid. Yeah, I get up, have a bad day. I'll just go to Raleigh, go to Burial, just chill for the day.
Oh, Burial's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's like okay, I got a day to kill. Like I'm looking at Sunday right now, so I'm working tomorrow. I might go to Charleston and just go run around there for a couple hours and come home. I used to go to Atlanta a lot more, but scheduling got crazy. Yeah, I'll be in Greenville in a month for a beer festival, and then seeing the crew I haven't seen in a while, do some awesome shares on the beer bars while I'm there, and then coming home. But yeah, I've so friends last week for a beer festival here in Savannah. Met some amazing people. We did 2 crazy shares in a parking lot. Um,
Been there.
I also am a huge trader, so yeah, I got mail last night. I got my hurricane beer, so I'm happy about that. Now I'm getting ready to go run out and pack up for Monday. But right now, the big thing for me right now is having fun with it, enjoying the beers, and just chilling. Um, there's so many great things out, so many great breweries I want to check out. I mean, I made a list. I said I'm gonna do my 50 for 50. So since I celebrate my 50th birthday, I'm gonna do 50 breweries, 50 states.
That's
50
awesome.
Yeah. So
All right. Well, let's continue. Brendan, what did you want to
Sure.
talk about today?
So I found a really interesting article. It was a Fox 2 Detroit article that then links to a USA Today article. But there was USA Today recently put out their 10 best brew pubs in the U.S. List for 2023. And 2 Michigan breweries made it on there. Real quick, rattle off the whole list. 10 is Puesto Mission Valley in San Diego. 9 is City Built in Grand Rapids. 8 is North Park in San Diego. 7 is Wayfinder in Portland. 6 is Smith and Lentz in Nashville. 5 is Salt Springs in Saline. 4 is Zydeco Brewworks in Tampa. 3 is Mudhen Brewing in Wildwood, New Jersey. 2 is From the Earth Brewing in Roswell, Georgia. And coming in at number 1 is Stronghouse Brew Pub in Telluride, Colorado. So that just got me thinking about like brew pubs and like brew pubs in general. For what it's worth, I have been to 2 of the brew pubs on this list, Smith and Lentz in Nashville and City Built in Grand Rapids. Can't say enough good things about both of them. City Built, every time I'm in Grand Rapids, you have to stop in. The food's incredible. The beer's incredible. And Smith and Lentz is, if you're not familiar with it, some of the best pizza I've ever had. And they pretty much only do lagers, pilsners, and pale ales, but they have an Italian Pilsner that is to this day the best Pilsner I've ever had in my life. So first, just, are you familiar? I'm not familiar with Salt Springs, for instance, but are you familiar with any of the brew pubs on this list? And second, what would you say is just your favorite brew pub? It was kind of an interesting question. I posed it to some of my beer friends, and it led to some pretty big arguments. So figured I'd drag that over to here as well.
Yeah, the Salt Springs and Saline's a really nice spot. The food over there is just impeccable. It's a bit pricey, I would say. I don't know if necessarily I got to the pricey part simply because it was post-COVID, so the prices kind of jumped. So maybe there was a little sticker shock for me while I was in there. But nonetheless, like Salt Springs is really, really nice out here. It's over in Washtenaw County. There is also another brewery right by it too, so you could kind of hit up both of them. It's kind of off the beaten path. It's down Michigan Ave as you're heading towards like Brooklyn. That's Brooklyn, Michigan, not New York, Gary. So yeah, a beautiful venue, beautiful, like the beer is always good, the food is good. I say the same for City Built. Like City Built's beer is phenomenal, and their venue is great, and their food is great. But Gary, have you been to any of these?
I have, but I was going to throw 3 others here. I was going to throw Odd Otter, have a killer burger, awesome vibe. Love their watermelon Hefeweizen, Great Notion, killer burger. We all know Great Notion. And then Finback, they have a pop-up kitchen in their OG location. So that would be my 3. And then the cool thing about Great Notion is a block over is a killer bottle shop, like a half a block over. So you can like stock up over there, get some more hazy. And their back room, I totally lost my mind. I had to buy a suitcase because I bought so much beer there to fly back to my job.
Doing travel is always fun when you're trying to pack up beer to fly back. It was the best thing getting the Delta the Delta credit card because it always gave me 2 checked bags, and just using that to always bring back beer everywhere I went. Maurice and YouTube says, I usually go to breweries, but when my wife and I are meeting a large group of friends, we'll go to a beer bar. I think that's the charm of a lot of brew pubs, because brew pubs, they cannot distribute their beer. Therefore, they have the ability to make cocktails, bring in alcohol, bring in guest taps. So if you do use the, as I'm guessing you are a Michigander because you did talk about Yard House and Troy, the Michigan Brewery Map app actually shows you all the breweries that serve cocktails, because you can find all the breweries that serve spirits. But any brew pub, you can almost feel confident that they're going to have some type of cocktail program there, from like Great Baraboo or Rochester Mills, which are some of the ones that are closer to this person here on our YouTube page at youtube.com/Better on Draft. For me, on the other hand, like I do love brew pubs just because going in there, you're going to get a little bit more. I loved going to Traffic Jam. I think a lot of people used to poo-poo on Traffic Jam just because Motor City Brewing Works was right across the street. But yeah, I loved Traffic Jam and Snug. I loved their desserts back when I used to eat sweets. Like everyone would rave about them. So that is for me like maybe some of the more brew pubby places that I like in Michigan. Again, what's like Royal Oak Brewery, who we've had on our show. Obviously, they're an amazing brew pub with an amazing kitchen, amazing food. But yeah, it's a great spot to go to, as Maurice says, when you want to go with someone that isn't necessarily drinking beer or even wine, like they want cocktails or something like that. So yeah, the beer bars like Beerhead or I think Brown Iron. You talk about Brown Iron. They have cocktails and stuff there too. So that's always a great spot. Yeah. Did you say what some of your favorites are that aren't on the list?
I have not personally. For me, I mean, Smith and Lentz, like I said, obviously very much up there. Also in Nashville is oh my god, I can't think of the name. Tailgate Brewing. They have about 5 or 6 tap rooms now. There's one in Chattanooga. They're all over Middle Tennessee. But they have a really good peanut butter milk stout that I love. And they also do phenomenal Detroit style pizza, which is surprisingly hard to get in the South. Can't recommend Tailgate enough. Another one, I know we're talking about the UP a little bit, technically the Lower Peninsula, but Beer to Mac in Mackinac City. Might be one of my favorite breweries of all time. I just ended up there randomly on like a snowy March day, like 7 years ago. And ever since I have to stop in there. Their food, they mix up their menu a little bit, but their food is just always phenomenal. The beers, I've never had a bad beer by them. Their sweet potato extra special bitter is like my go-to fall beer. My brother lives in Marquette, so I have him bring me a growler of it every time I see him in the fall. And then I guess, like you said, Brown Iron. I cut my teeth on Brown Iron. My parents used to live a block or two from their Washington Township tap room, and right when I turned 21, they moved there. So I was in there all the time, and it was really like the food is good. Their their own brews are good, but it was also really a good experience for me because it would kind of help me like suss out what I liked from a brewery, what bar, because I was in college, kind of just drank what you get your hands on. So I guess kind of tying this all back into the beer bar thing, I think that goes a good thing for beer bars, is especially when you're first getting into craft beer, having to try different styles. But yeah, I'd say those are my 3.
Yeah, Brown Iron was it because Hopcat always felt very corporate-y to me, and that's not really a slam on them, but it, when a bar it doesn't feel very genuine. Mm-hmm. It feels like Brown Iron, you could tell it had a more family touch to it. I think you would say. So when I would go there, it was a great time to go. Gary.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about today?
Well, we'll see on the food front here. I went back to the Brewbound podcast. It was an older podcast because we're still dealing with it right now. We're still fighting the brewery taproom events. It's a bill S3038 that's limiting breweries to only 25 events per year. So no food trucks, no yoga classes, no trivia nights. Phil Murphy, the governor, he's it was the bill sent to him. He wanted to change it up. He wanted to add more onto it because he wants to help out with everybody. And now the podcast was really, really cool. It was with Eric Orlando, the executive director of New Jersey Brewers Guild, and Departed Souls, a brewer owner out of Jersey City, Brian Kulbach. Brian Kulbaki. They're working on trying to like extend it and make it bigger because breweries for us, we hang out, we chill. I mean, I fly in on a Friday night, I see my crew, I eat pizza, thin crust again, I eat real bagels I get in Georgia. And then I'm hanging out with my crew. Yeah, we're eating great beers, and eating great food, drinking great beers, and they have great events. But the restaurants and the bar owners, because the liquor licenses are so expensive here in New Jersey, they lose their mind over it. They fight those things like Game of Thrones, like White Walkers, bro. Like, you can't come in here and take away from us. Like, no. Even though we're buying pizza from you to drink beer and get more wings, get burgers from you, they want everything. So Icarus Brewing out of Lakewood, they made a beer on the bill Phil, and now they're working on something else again for this year. It's coming back up again to do something about this, is because basically the governments can get their money, but the restaurants versus the brewers, they're just fighting constantly, and it's just crazy that you can't. They're trying to find the middle ground, and the ABC is just picking favorites. Hey, you give me $5, okay, I love you today. All right, I'll give you $7, I love you more tomorrow. But yeah, it's crazy what you can and can't do. Like, food trucks can't come in. We can't have an event. We can't have like a battle of the burgers at a brewery because you're going to get into the cutoff. If you do 24 events, you get your 25th, you're cut. You can't do 26 because then ABC gets involved.
So I'm looking at the bill, and the measure would give them the option to hold unlimited number of private parties on premises each year. So I feel like there's definitely a workaround to call something like a private party. But I'm guessing there's like obviously back and forth with what you would be able to do versus what's legal. And do you want to take the chance of getting caught and losing your liquor license? Because right now, like 25 special events, off-premise events, and then 25 social affairs per year. So 25, like that's, there are breweries that host yoga like once a week, and that's 52, 53 events right there. And then if they do like open mic night once a month, that's another 12. And like live bands, like our friend over at Batch Brewing, Dave Scott's trying to get bands over there to perform. And like I've went and gone to see bands over at Bearded Lamb, like that. The issue is obvious because it's been talked about before, like the Wisconsin Tavern League, where they wanted all beer to be sold to a distributor, period. Meaning that if you brewed the beer, you sold it to a distributor who then sold it back to you at a brewery, because they're like, it's unfair that we have to pay this premium versus a brewery. And I'm like, motherfucker, make your own beer. That's why we used to have 9,000 breweries in the country, was because every single bar made their own beer at some point. And I know getting a license and all that stuff, dealing with like the Department of Ag, but I mean, yeah, that's just too limited. And I'm kind of surprised because New Jersey usually seemed to be a very law liberal area where you might get a little bit more business forward laws, like business friendly laws. But yeah, this is crazy.
That is pretty wild.
Yeah, but Ken, the thing is, this the license in New Jersey goes for $1 million minimum.
Oh
Each
yeah, it's
county sets the rules. So where I grew up at, the state can't tell what the town to do for certain things. So like openings by us, one liquor store open every day at 7 o'clock in the morning, Sunday to Sunday. Beautiful thing. But the first 2 hours was only beer and wine. So you get all the old retirees getting their tall boys and their Marlboros, soccer mom getting their Pinot Gris Chardonnay, and then all the warehouse workers coming and getting tall boys. We're rolling. But 2 hours later, 9 o'clock, yeah, it's liquor sales are also open then. But the next town over, nothing's open until 10 o'clock.
And that's in New Jersey.
Jersey.
Yeah, here in Michigan, at least, when you have a certain amount of SDMs and SDDs that are available and on-premise Class Cs per city based on the census. So at the beginning of each decade or a year later, when the census comes into, that's when like new licenses are available. So if you're trying to like buy, like if you go to like buying an online biz in like Royal Oak, like the Class C license in Royal Oak is easily $500K just for the license. Just to be able to open up a bar in Royal Oak, or somebody's trying to sell a bar in Royal Oak with the Class C, they get to tack that on. I
had a friend that was waiting in Dearborn for like 5 years before he finally gave up.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're either waiting for the census to come in hopes that Dearborn increased enough in population that you can go try to apply for one, or you have to try to buy from someone and that would have to sell. That's in Detroit, because they don't take them away from people. So in Detroit, like the city of Detroit, the amount of liquor licenses in the city is almost double what they allow because of all the population loss. So if someone's trying to, again, they don't take it away. So if you close up shop, you can sell that. And if you're trying to sell a liquor license in the city of Detroit, that is easily worth, as Gary said, like $1 million. That's depending on where you could put that liquor license, it's easily going to be worth $1 million. And when you're a company like Little Caesars Arena, and all the little bars and stuff like that they try to put up around the area, so not in the actual arena, but around the arena, like they had to go find all those liquor licenses, and those bar owners were able to cash out easy because Big Daddy Mike Ilitch is coming in with a sack of money saying, hey, I want your license. Here's $750,000. Sure, you're out of business now, but I think you can do something with this money.
Oh yeah,
Something. Guys in New Jersey.
Something anecdotally. Oh no, it's okay. I never kind of realized, just speaking of like liquor licenses and liquor laws, how I feel like Michigan's liquor laws are a little more allowing than a lot of other states. Like, for example, here in Minneapolis, it blows my mind. Tennessee, Minneapolis, and my girlfriend's from Colorado. You can't buy most alcohol in grocery stores in a lot of other states, which is just crazy to me because, like, growing up in Michigan, it was not at all weird for me in college. Yeah, I'd go get groceries and I'd put a fifth of Jack in there. I was 21. I was in a fraternity. It's what we did. And then, like, I would move to Tennessee and, like, I was shopping with my girlfriend at Publix and was like, oh, I want to get a fifth of Jack. And she's like, well, we have to stop by the liquor store. I was like, why? And she's from Colorado, so it's for her, it's just like completely normal. It's very, I kind of never really thought about like the difference in liquor laws and like how that affects people. Like in Tennessee, one time on a Sunday, I wanted to go watch, there was like a London NFL game, and I went to a restaurant, a brewery, like a brew pub, and they were like, we can serve you food, but we can't serve you beer till noon, because that was the state law in Tennessee. So it's always interesting to think about.
It was, I mean, in Michigan up until 2009 or so, we still had no Sunday laws until noon. And then, of course, the one that I think everyone, if you're a Michigander of age, you have a story of Christmas Eve when they would cut all alcohol sales at 6 or 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. the day after Christmas, or noon if it was a Sunday.
I worked one Christmas Eve at Myers.
Oh God.
Oh,
And I
I,
can only
I've lasted
imagine.
one Christmas season, but yeah, that was crazy.
I can
Yeah,
imagine.
obviously those laws changed when they changed a lot of laws in the state, and they offered licenses. They didn't change the law, so the law still says noon, or you can get a license for 7 a.m. on Sundays.
Yeah.
Which during the 0-16 season was definitely a hard time to do.
Maybe that's why they
So
changed the
funny
law.
story about that. I think it was Aldi that I went to that they couldn't sell me wine before noon. And I didn't pay attention to it because, it's Aldi. But yeah, they couldn't sell it to me. I had to put it back.
Yep, that means that they didn't pay for the Sunday license to sell before noon. Most places picked it up because it was just simple. But I mean, if you're not going to open up until noon, like if you're a grocery, you should have it. But if you're not, if you're like say Zatuna Liquor in Rochester Hills, just south of M59 on Rochester Road, and you're not necessarily open, maybe you were only opened at 11, like, what's the point for that 1 hour? Are you going to make enough money during that hour to pay for that license? And how much is that license? Are they just getting an extra couple $100 from you just to get a couple $100 from you? I don't know the answer. It was a rhetorical, I don't think anybody here knew the answer question. That is going to do it for the craft beer news. Thank you to everyone who was in the chats and YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch today. Thank you so much for our guest hosts, Brendan and Gary. Brendan's always in our Discord, so go chat with them. I think Gary's always on our Facebook page when we're live, so go say hi to him while we're doing the show. And that is going to do it. We will be off next week again. 2 weeks. We will be back the 15th of September. And no matter what you think of your beer, we think it's better on draft. Have a good night.
Cheers.
Cheers.
cheers. Hey.